Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste. Salam alaikum. Ni hao. Bonjour. Bonjour, you're right. Bonjour. Game show. Hola. Sorry, that's the only country I've visited so far, so I don't know all the languages. I think there's 30 or more places I need to learn. How is everybody doing tonight? Awesome. Thank you very much for being here. Wednesday evening. Amazing, amazing. You know, this is my favorite place. I started Walk the Talk when I was the first speaker, and I fell in love with this place. Today is our 18th event. Can you believe that? And first time being here at Indiana Historical Society. I mean, I just love this place, and we're gonna continue to grow. You know, this is also happened to be my favorite time of the day, because throughout the day, my kids do not listen to me. My wife never listens to me, which is okay. But my kids, just about this time, they listen to me because I tell them a story, a bedtime story. Well, they unfortunately cannot be here tonight, so I would like to tell you guys a story about a person named Stephen Ross. Once upon a time, Stephen Ross, working on his office, had a realization. He is the owner of the Basile Theater. Doing his day-to-day things, he had an amazing, deep realization that I need to do something bigger and better for myself, for my community, for Indianapolis, and for the world. So then him and his partner sat down and started this vision called Walk the Talk series. It started in June 2016, and today we are going to open our 18th chapter. To talk a little bit more about Enlightenment, we have a very beautiful video from Rosa Parks Elementary School. And can we have the video, please? All right, you guys are gonna love it.
What inspires me is seeing how someone feels if you do something good. It also, I think, impacts the person who did the act of kindness too.
What inspires me is my mom, my dad, and sometimes the teachers.
When somebody else does something good for me, it inspires me to do good things for other people.
My mom, she inspires me to do something good by being nice to others even though they're not nice to me, because it's the right thing to do.
I like seeing the smile on others' faces when you do something that's good.
What inspires me to want to do something good is that I see my mom and dad helping other people with limited English in our community, and it makes me realize how important helping others is, and it inspires me to do something good for others.
What makes me happy is when I play with my friends. Like at soccer, I'm happy playing with my friends, team with team, score.
Seeing other people be happy, because I think maybe I could have impacted someone, or maybe someone that I know could have impacted them.
What makes me happy is my family. I really like spending time with my sister and my mom and my dad.
Normally seeing other people being happy and seeing how they can really react well when doing that. My brother was sad about something, so I went up to him and gave him the one thing that he wanted, and he had this really big smile on his face, and I enjoyed seeing that smile.
Thank you. Actually, the first time I'd see the video today, so actually it gave me tears. I work on clinical trials, and I work on thousands of drug research and stuff like that. But if you can find a cure for ignorance, I think that's enlightenment. That's what I think, that cure for ignorance, that's what it is. So anyway, our first speaker, her name is Sandra Connor. She's so amazing. She's blissful, peaceful, a joyful person. When she came for audition, I just fell in love with her. I just loved her energy. I love the way she talked, and she's an amazing message for everyone, for you guys. So please help me welcome Sandra Connor.
Well, welcome to my fireside chat. Yeah. I hope everyone's doing well and that you are excited about enlightenment today. And if you will permit me, we're going to explore enlightenment from the perspective of 5 senses and sometimes the senselessness of it all. We'll begin with the sense of touch. Now, this is the one sense that is largely intentional. Now, why do I say that, you're probably wondering? I'm going to give you an opportunity to show yourselves. Everyone turn to a neighbor. Make a fist, and you're going to do a fist bump with your neighbor. All right? That was intentional. You had to choose to do it. And it starts at a very early age, our making the choice to reach out, just like this little baby has reached out to a parent or a grandparent with its soft little hand. Don't you just love baby skin? It's so soft, and it's never that soft again, no matter how hard we try, is it? Anyway, aside from all the oils and things that we use trying to get there, we can choose to reach out to other people, can't we? Next, the sense of smell. Now, this is the one that we don't have much choice in when you really think about it. You probably right now can sense some aromas around you. Perhaps the person has cologne on that's on either side of you. Hopefully it's pleasant. But you are surrounded every day by smells in the air. It's either smoggy or foggy, or you're somewhere, especially if you're near a restaurant and they want you to buy something, they deliberately pump air out into the street with the senses and sense of what they're cooking so you can come on in. Well, that's a choice that you make, whether or not you want to partake of what you're smelling. But we do start when we're very, very young, understanding this sense of smell and what can it tell us about the world around us. Now, it just so happens the sunflowers don't have much of a scent, but this baby is checking it out to see. What does have a wonderful aroma, especially this time of year in central Indiana, are peonies. They're about to bloom any day now. I had a yard, in fact, I've had a couple of yards over my lifetime. I won't tell you how old I am. But I've had a couple with peonies, and I just love them. Now, the thing you have to be careful about, though, the little tiny bugs with the 6 legs that also love peonies. So if you're going to cut them and bring them in the house, it'll do you well to shake them real good before you get them on your dining room table. Otherwise, you may have some ants having lunch with you. And how many of you right now, if you're willing to raise your hand, can almost smell the orange you see pictured here? Yes, it's pungent, it's wonderful, and when you taste it, it's also sweet. And the sense of smell and the sense of taste are tied together. We really can't do too much tasting without our sense of smell. Taste is the sense that gives us pleasure, because stuff tastes good, And it also can be a factor in our safety. Anybody in here ever had food poisoning? Yeah, me. And you know, sometimes when you take that bite of chicken, this happened to me, so I can tell you, and it tasted like cheese, and then you remember there was no cheese in the salad. Yeah, that did it. So sometimes we have real pungent sensations from our sense of taste. Remember the first time you tasted a lemon? This little guy is his first experience. I remember mine about 3 or 4, and it was kind of pleasant to me, actually. I discovered that I liked lemons. I like eating them. To this day, I like eating them. My favorite is Meyer lemons, not the grocery store, but the, M-E-Y-E-R. They're sweet and juicy and just wonderful, almost like eating an orange, but not quite. And we have 5 ways to sense taste, but one of my favorites is sweet. I love ice cream. Anybody else here love ice cream? Yeah, it's almost summertime and the prices are going down. I'm so excited. Be careful, though, when you're eating people food and you leave it where urban creatures can find them. Now, this squirrel, it looks like it's really enjoying this ice cream cone, but it really shouldn't be eating the ice cream cone. So we have to be aware and intentional about what we do with our people food and where we leave it. My son, for example, was in Boy Scouts a little while back, and they went camping. The troop leader specifically told them to make sure everything was covered and put away before they went to bed. He came home the next day with the wildest story. Mom, there was a raccoon in our tent. They had left the cheese and crackers that they were munching on out where the raccoons could smell them. So guess what happened? Midnight snack for the raccoons. Hearing. Everybody be as quiet as you can for just a moment. Me too. Now, did you hear there are some ambient noises in the room? Very quiet, but there are. Now, hearing being our first sense, our very first sense, we start by hearing our mother's heartbeat in the womb while we're growing. We get accustomed to that. So that's not a choice that we have, but if we choose to listen, not just hear, but listen, and be intentional about that, we can be enlightened by what someone else says to us. But we do have to listen, and sometimes we have to listen for nuances because their message might be between the lines. But if we do, we can understand a little bit more about our fellow humans. Last but not least, our sense of sight. Now, this is the most fragile sense. Our eyes are the most sensitive organs in our body. We have to protect them. But they do give us a wonderful sense of the world around us. If we look at the beautiful sunrises and the beautiful sunsets around us, if we take in the greenery, and we are fortunate here where we live, that we have a lot of green trees, especially starting this time of year. They then evolve throughout the summer into the fall, and the colors change. If you've ever driven through the Hoosier Forest in about October, you see a plethora of colors, and it's just a wonderful concert for our eyes. But there are also things that we should take a look at and pay attention to when we're looking at people. Now, it says here on this sign that this lady is homeless. She's down on her luck. But is that her whole story? For all we know, she might have a college degree, maybe even an advanced degree. A few years ago, there were people with PhDs out in the street, homeless. So not everyone who's homeless has any kind of other issue other than they just ran out of money. But there are also times when we see people laughing and happy and joyful, or at least they seem to be so. But then if we listen to whatever story they may tell us, we may find that they need help too. So enjoy time with your family and your friends and live it up and be happy and joyful. But remember that not everyone you see who's smiling is actually happy. So it's up to us to be enlightened enough. It's up to us who's willing to stand with me. To stand and be intentional about reaching out to our fellow humans and being a part of the community of Earth. Thank you. All right. You may be seated, yes.
That was an amazing speech.
Well, thank you.
You know, your speech reminded me when I visited India last year. I go a couple times a year, and every time I go there, I feel enlightened. And I personally don't think it's a spiritual place, but I just think people don't have a lot of small things. Like I met a guy who made $5 a day. Mm-hmm. And so your story just reminded me of those days. So thank you for sharing that. Mm-hmm. And I have actually a question for you.
Okay.
I believe you do some coaching and some webinars, I believe, and help people with the video.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I'm a business coach and mentor. I help people to start and grow their businesses. And in fact, my focus right now, because there's such a need in the marketplace, is to help people use video more in their business growth. So I teach people how to produce their own, or I produce them for them. But I'm having a wonderful time with that because it's such an underutilized medium for getting your message out to people. So if you have a business, put that in the back of your mind that you need to use more video.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Our next speaker, she brings so much joy. She's blissful, young, and beautiful. When she came for audition, I just loved her energy, the way she talked, the way she gave a message. And what I really liked about her is she's so passionate about helping others and helping community through her meditation and mindfulness practices. Please help me welcome Lavia Graham.
I personally believe that no one's experience of enlightenment will be the exact same. We all have our own perceptions and ways of viewing life in both the material and spiritual worlds. From my perception, I view enlightenment to be an experience of love and connecting to your truest self. We have two ways of experiencing life: through love, which is our higher self, or through the ego, which is our lower self. I consider love to be a force more powerful than myself, which I also call God, the divine, the universe, or source energy. I believe this source to be positive, peaceful, non-judgmental, fearless, blissful, and selfless. I believe the ego, or the lower self, to be negative, unkind, judgmental, impatient, and selfish. As human beings, we all have moments where we fall short to our ego, but what matters is that we reconnect ourselves back to love. On my journey into enlightenment, I had to lose myself and my lower self to bring myself back to my light. My 3.5 year of college, I developed anxiety, and at this point, I had been in school this whole time without taking any breaks, all while working, completing internships, and stepping into adulthood. Before I became burnt out, I was a naturally happy and peaceful person. But in that 3.5 year period of time, I lost a sense of balancing and taking care of myself. I knew how important it was to take care of my physical health, but lacked the knowledge and importance of balancing my mental and spiritual health as well. So when I first started to develop anxiety, I noticed myself going into a mind fog. I was very unhappy. I was stressed out. And I noticed myself overthinking negative thoughts. And this was a different type of stress I was experiencing. And since this was a different type of stress, I started picking up bad habits such as eating junk food more than normal and wanting to drink alcohol to cope with the stress. And over time, the anxiety got worse. I started to develop panic attacks. And if you've ever experienced a panic attack, you know it's not a good feeling. I remember the first night I had one. I remember waking up out of my sleep to my heart beating out of my chest. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I was crying. I didn't know what to do. And at that time, my parents were out of town, so I couldn't call them and talk to them. So I got up, pacing the floor, trying to calm myself down, but I think I made myself get more anxious and worse by walking around in circles. So about 4 a.m, I ended up calling my boyfriend, and I said, please take me to the hospital. I think I'm having a heart attack. So when I got there, they ran tests, they did chest scans, and they said, you're normal, there's nothing wrong with you. But in my head, I'm like, there's something going on. I feel like I'm having a heart attack, and I can't control my thoughts. So after that night, I still had anxiety, and I still had the panic attack symptoms, especially moments when I would be driving in the car. I remember having to pull over on the highway to calm myself down because I would end up having a panic attack while driving. So I would either call my family member or just try to calm myself down so I can continue my drive. But in the dark times, in the midst of the anxiety and fear, I heard a quiet voice within speak to me. And she said, Lavia, this is not you. This is not who you are. And there is a way out of this. That quiet voice within was the divine higher power, my intuition. And your divine spirit is always there with you, loving you, and guiding you on this journey. But it takes a moment of quietness and stillness to hear that voice within. So step by step, I started to listen to that voice within, and she guided me into enlightenment by teaching me to honor my mind, body, and spirit. So first on my path into enlightenment, she said, it's time to take care of your body. Your body is your home during this human experience, and it's so important to honor that. So I began eating healthier, exercising, and trying to get much rest as possible whenever I could. I was also guided into taking natural health products to stop the panic attack symptoms. All of these things helped, but I still lacked control over my mind. So my divine spirit spoke to me again, and she said, it's time to rewire that way of thinking. It's time to become positive again. She said, the negative thoughts that you're thinking have a major impact on your mental well-being. So I literally had to relearn how to think positive. So I went and searched for books, and in these books, gratitude was the tool that stuck out to me the most. So I began saying thank you for every single thing, from my feet up to my head, from the insides and the outsides of my body. I started to become aware of life again in the present moment by saying thank you for everything that I touched, felt, saw, and experienced. And when I did this, I realized how truly blessed I am. I started to come back to life again. Enlightenment connected me to my spiritual awakening. And it was the most beautiful experience I've ever felt in my life. It's something that you really can't explain. You just have to feel for yourself. It's so blissful. It feels like you're living in heaven on earth. That's how good it feels. It's like the peace and love just overtakes your whole spirit. Enlightenment also connected me to who I truly am, which is the divine. I remember looking in the mirror, smiling and glowing, but it was a different smile and glow that I had. I finally saw who I truly was, or who I truly am, and I started crying tears of joy. I realized that I am light, I am the divine, the universe is within me, and God is within all of you. Enlightenment opened me up to a whole new spiritual nature and awareness of self. I started living more of an authentic lifestyle, doing things to honor my divine spirit. And my spirit loves things that bring me love, peace, freedom, and adventure. But connecting to that divine spirit within also opened me up to all parts of myself, which is the darkness within me that needed healing as well. So on my path into enlightenment, my spirit said, it's time to release that ego, your negative habits, your old wounds, your judgments of yourself and of others to finally evolve to that next level of freedom. And these were old wounds, judgments of myself, things I've been carrying around for years. And she said, only you can heal yourself from the pain that you're carrying around. So I began my self-healing journey by 1, having self-awareness for the things that I needed to work on. 2, having self-compassion. I got into meditation and Reiki healing, and I also started journaling on my journey. And all of these things helped me heal myself. And after I let go of that false sense of self, it opened me up to a whole new beautiful connection to the universe. I realized that life is bigger than me. And I realized that everything is made from God's source energy. Every person you see, everything you touch, life is God's source energy. And this made me more of a compassionate, loving, and selfless person. Enlightenment also connected me to my true purpose in life, which is to spread love, light, positive energy, and healing into the world. I started doing this by creating my own business, The Wealth of Health, teaching others to honor their mind, body, and spirit through my YouTube channel, and teaching mindfulness meditation and empowerment groups. I realized that we are all one, and that my journey can help so many other people heal from their anxiety and connect them to their true spiritual nature. So here's what I want you to know, that the mind, the body, and the spirit are all connected. And when you honor and take care of all three, it will open you up to a whole new, beautiful journey of self-discovery, healing, and enlightenment. Thank you. Thanks. Thank
Wonderful,
you.
wonderful. You know, at your age, I'm not going to reveal your age, but I didn't know how to spell meditation. So I don't know how you do it, how you find time to do this for yourself and help others. Tell us a little bit more.
Well, I make self-care a priority because you can't help anybody else if you're not taking care of yourself. So every day, even if it's 10 to 15 minutes, I take time for myself, especially in the mornings when I wake up. I'll meditate or do yoga or journal and just have that time for me. And then after that, I'm able to give to other people, and I just feel good. So I think it's important to balance taking care of yourself. That's very important.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, I have 3 words for her. She's passionate, she's powerful, and a loving leader. She is full of joy. You know what I'm talking about? I know a few friends here, I know. Yeah, ready. And she loves to help and lead others to find their purpose, find their mission for their on this earth. And I just love her energy so much. I want to call her Marvelous. I don't know if I'm saying it right. You can say it. Go ahead. Or I'm going to call her Captain Marvel. Is it okay? How about that? Please help me welcome Karmen Fink.
Thank you. I grew up in the church in the denomination of Disciples of Christ. Every Sunday, my family and I, we attended church, went to Sunday school, and we always wore our Sunday's best. Church was my safe haven as a child, and they became my second family. In 2013, I stepped into the energy realm. I started meditating twice a day, had my chakras balanced, and started to ask more questions about how this energy worked. And I was so curious that in 2014, I attended a conference to learn more. While I was at this conference, I started to learn that we are all energy, and we're all connected through these invisible energy cords that are similar to waves in the ocean that are never ending. And I'll never forget in class on that Saturday afternoon when I finally understood the concept of oneness, that we are all one, and we're all saying the same thing using different words and methods to get there. For example, the Bible says, "Be still and listen," and that's exactly what we do in meditation. When I came home, my relationship with God changed, and my entire life shifted. I invite you over the next few minutes to walk along with me in my enlightenment journey. So, what is enlightenment? Is it a different dimension or realm? Is it a relationship with God, the divine source? Or could it be a shift in perception? A Course in Miracles says a miracle is when you have a shift in perception. What if every minute of every day your perception shifted? Some of you may have seen this picture, and depending on your perception, you may see a young lady, an older woman, or both. So I'm curious, who here, by a show of hands, sees the young lady? Thank you. Who here sees the older woman? And who here sees both? Thank you. Could enlightenment be seeing things from a different perspective? Now let's talk about labels. We humans love labels. We have to label everything. Labels are how we connect and understand our outer world. Labels such as, I am a yogi, I am a teacher, I am an entrepreneur, I am a fill in the blank. We've allowed these labels to define who we are. So what would your outer world look like as you start to shift these labels? And let's talk about the label with a lot of controversy. The label of God. Everyone has a different perspective of who or what God is to them. Some believe that God is human, God is Buddha, God is love, God is energy, God is in heaven, and we humans are here on earth. What if we're all saying the same thing, using a different label to describe the same element known as God? And now it just becomes so uncomfortable because we're so deeply rooted in the belief system we were given as a child. It's too difficult to look at it any other way. So, how can you shift your perspective? One of my favorite ways to shift my perspective is to stretch outside your comfort zone. Yeah, get curious. Ask questions with an open heart and mind. And listen. Listen without judgment. And when was the last time we did any of these things? With a shift in perspective, also has a shift in vibration, energy vibration. Energy is not good nor bad. It vibrates at a higher or lower frequency. The higher the energy vibration, the higher the realm or dimension you align with. So let's play with this energy. Everyone bring your hands in front of you, shoulder width apart, like you're holding a box, palms facing each other. and start to rub your hands together, causing heat and friction. Get them going. And now bring them back out in front of you, shoulder width apart, and start to move your hands together and away and back together. And can you feel the energy between your hands? Now start to bring the box above your head and do the same thing. Bring your hands together and apart and together again. You guys, you're feeling the size of your crown chakra. So what are these chakras, also pronounced chakras? These are simply energy wheels that run along your spine. They start at the base and they work their way up into the universe. These are the frequencies I mentioned earlier. The first 7 chakras are in the 3rd dimension. Chakras 8 through 14 are in the 4th dimension, and so on. So the key takeaway is the higher your energy frequency, the different dimension or realm you are in. You see, enlightenment isn't a place you go and visit. Enlightenment is a feeling. It's a connection. And when you're reconnected with your inner divine self, that's when the magic happens. And this is what I do. I give you tools to reconnect your inner divine self, reigniting your passions and gifts that sparks your life's purpose. Your inner divine self is your spirit. It's the essence of who you are at your very core. And when you're connected with your inner divine self, your world shifts. You gain awareness and understanding, and you experience your awakening. For the last exercise, please close your eyes. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And start to visualize your life currently. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? And where do you feel it in your body? Do you feel it in your chest, which is your heart chakra? Do you feel it in your gut, which is your solar plexus or your power center? A situation you'd like to be different, and flip the script. Change your perspective on this situation. And again, notice how you feel and where you feel it in your body. Please open your eyes. The unknown can be scary and beautiful and exactly what is needed. I had no idea what to expect when I attended that conference, and my entire life changed. My relationship with God is stronger than ever. I changed my perspective and I continue to align my energies. Trust in yourself and trust in God and trust in your enlightenment. Sending you all much love. Thank you. No hugs.
We are not allowed to hug, but you know what? I'm going to break the rules. It's okay. Can you still hear me okay? Wow. Amazing.
Thank you.
So somebody told me,
Yes?
beside all your fun things you do, you love to feed something.
I love to feed the ducks. They're my spirit animals. So yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I go to Broad Ripple and I go to Good Earth and get duck food right near the Rainbow Bridge. And about once a week for about an hour, that's the intention, is we have a conversation with the ducks.
Captain Marvel, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To follow suit Captain Marvel, we have invited Captain America. Because he's the only male we have in the speaker today. So he is such a joyful gentleman. And he has spent hours and hours in the community. And that's why I call him a Captain America, actually. And I love the way he speaks. Please help me welcome John Schmitz.
Oh, yeah. Welcome. Have you ever wondered what your purpose is, why we're here? I thought I was important, but in reality, I'm just a speck in a vast universe, a speck of sand in a vast universe. Either I'm a speck of sand in a desert or a speck of sand on the beach. But I don't know about you, but I'd rather be on the beach. But I believe we're all born into the desert, and it's our life's journey, our mission to find our way to the beach. And I believe the way we find our way to the beach is through enlightenment. And my name's John Schmitz, and I'm here to share my story of enlightenment with you this evening. But first, I want to talk about the definition of enlightenment. And in the Enlightenment era was the Age of Enlightenment, or the Age of Reason, which was after the Dark Ages. I don't know how that works out, but it is a time when philosophers such as Blaise Pascal had a theory of Pascal's wager. And that is, if you're going to bet that God exists, you might as well bet that he does, because what do you have to lose if he doesn't? But I believe it goes on beyond belief. It has to go to purpose. So that question is really needs more to it. So now I'm going to share my story of my journey to enlightenment. I was born here on the south side of Indy, had a loving family, mom and dad, 2 mean sisters, dog, all that. Lived in a great neighborhood, cool friends, went to high school, went off to college, graduated, got out of college, got a job working for some companies. Around 1990, I decided I could do this myself and started my own business. And at about that time, too, I met a girl, and we got married, and off to the races we go. Successful business, 4 kids. 15 years later, where kids are getting bigger, I had this urge to build a subdivision. I'd been a contractor, mason contractor. I'd built houses. So I can do this subdivision thing. I just need to find the right ground. One day I pull out of the house, and I'm going by this farm, and it's an 80-acre farm, and I see it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that if I ever comes up for sale, I want to take a shot at that. So I pull out, I see it for sale, and I would just say, please God, please let me build a subdivision. I want to build this subdivision, please, please, please. A year goes by and it still doesn't sell. So one day I think, well, they're probably ready to sell it because it's been on the market for a year. So, I call up the realtor and we make it work out. I brought a bunch of money to do this, and everything went well. I worked daylight to dark. We got things done, and I don't know if y'all remember 2008. Did anybody? Some people call that a recession. I call it a depression because it didn't work out well for me. That's about the time I got the lots ready to go for this beautiful subdivision. And it's like, I remember one of the first things I learned about prayer is be specific in your prayer. I prayed for the subdivision. I just forgot to pray for profitability. So let's put it this way. 2008 was not a banner year. I remember, that summer sitting in church, and it was before robocalls from your lenders would come. I had 14 messages on my phone from the bank wanting some money. And, later on that year, I'm on a masonry job because we couldn't find any work. I mean, it wasn't just the subdivision, but there was hardly any construction work. Sitting on the north side on a job, I had $5 in my pocket. And I'm like, am I going to eat today or am I going to get home? Now, I'm a guy that I had $1 million. I had millions, and I had tons of money, but now I'm facing this ultimate failure. And I've succeeded in everything I've done in life so far. I mean, just win, 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 win. And now I'm sitting here going, this is a tremendous failure. So I found myself at a crossroads, and it was one of those times where, what am I going to do? I had some friends that were just drinking and trying to drink and other that are just losing it. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. I still had a little bit of optimism in me. So I found myself in a Bible study with about 20 other guys that were developers, mortgage brokers, other people that were having issues with with their business. And we had a guy named John Deal. He was an attorney, and his premise was all the law you need is in the Bible. So if somebody was to say they had a legal issue, he could find a Bible relation to it. And one of the things I remember that got me going was he said, okay, what you do is you read the Bible just as quick as you can all the way through, and then you go back, and then you pick out parts that was interesting to you. And I'm like, well, I've read the Bible. I mean, I've been at church, I've been an elder, I've been a camp counselor, I've been all these things at church. What do I need to do that for? But I did it. And I remember it was about Christmas time. I didn't have anything else to do most of the day, so I pretty much read the Bible all day. And around Christmas time, I was, headed past the Leviticus with all the names and numbers and all that. And I was like, okay, I got all this. But I get around the turn of this, around January 1st, I remember this is when, now be careful, this is when I have my enlightenment moment. I'm reading Ecclesiastes. And, I would suggest that you should read Ecclesiastes as early in life as you can, because wait until you're 50, it's a little different game. So I remember reading some wise words from King Solomon, the richest man in history, but he had a little regrets, and he said, chasing riches is like grasping oil or chasing the wind. And I'm like, that's good to know now. I go on, I keep reading, and it's just like, this moment was just like everything stood still, and all these scriptures just stood out to me. And I remember reading one of the scriptures in Corinthians about using our gifts. And I've worked on a lot of gifts in my life. And I have gifts, and I'm just still sort of wondering, why did I fail? Why was this happening? And I remember reading Corinthians 12, where it talks about the body of Christ. The eye is not an ear, the nose is not a foot. And I just put my hands up and I said, God, why do I have to be the ass? I don't know what you're laughing about. There's two cheeks. And I know you all have been in an organization where somebody's been the appendix and they don't do anything. So, the application of these scriptures are the start of out of the pit. That enlightenment is one thing. But what we really need to do to recognize is the fact that we need to do something. We can't just be enlightened and then just sit on our hands and wait. We have to do something. So I'm thinking, okay, what do you want me to do? So I had learned that through prayer and fasting, and the correct way to pray, be more specific. I started thinking, after my new revelations of reading the scriptures and having this great understanding, that I need to be a preacher. So I started my fasting, my process, and the message came back. And God said, you know what? I don't think you need to go back and get a master's of divinity. I'll tell you what, you learn about people, I'll teach you scripture. So in 2012, I graduated with a master's degree in psychology. And I realized during that time period that my marriage was pretty much a train wreck. It was strained before, but the financial burden and the downhill slide of the bankruptcy just sort of made things worse, made them very apparent. So I'm like, okay, another fail. This enlightenment stuff's really great so far. But so I'm like minding my own business, and I'm like, I decided, well, it'd be nice to have some new friends or whatever. So I got on Match.com. I'm thinking I'm just going to go on there for friends or whatever. So I'm on there like the first week. And of course, I meet this woman. The first one I met, it was a height requirement thing. She was above 5'8". And I'm thinking, the psychologist in me is saying, well, two-thirds of rebound relationships fail. But the optimist was saying that 1/3 is successful. So it happened to be her she'd been on for 4 years, and this was her last week. It was my first week. And so we started talking, and things progressed. And I was like, okay, God, I want to be specific in my prayer here. I don't want to be getting into another thing, and I don't want that. So we started talking. We realized that, it took a very short time to realize that we were supposed to be together. And, when God has something for you. Fighting it, you may end up smelling like a fish because Jonah fought that and he had to spend 3 days in a whale. And I don't want to smell like a fish, so I said, okay, God, I got this. I'm gonna listen. And God said, you know what? You went through all this stuff because I have a purpose for you in life. It's going to be more than what you are going to do, and you weren't going to do that with a subdivision, with the relationship you had. So we got together, we got married, and we both knew that God had something bigger for us to do. So after church, came up with this plan about how we were going to maybe move into a rundown neighborhood and fix up our house and help everybody else in the neighborhood fix up their houses. So we do that after church. We drive around, and we noticed that there was abandoned buildings. And so word got out to some of our friends that we were looking for something like this to move into a community and help out and do something. So a friend of ours said, hey, there's a building in Mars Hill. And I'm like, I grew up on the south side. There's two places you don't go, Mars Hill and Hallville. You don't go there. So I had said, okay, I'm gonna go look at this thing, and I got a price, and if it goes to that, it's so I go, and my top number is where the bidding stopped, and we bought a building. We got into the neighborhood, and we decided that we needed to find out what that neighborhood wanted. And the neighborhood had a community center, had 22 churches, had all these things, and it came out that we needed to build an art center, possibly with activities. And during that process, that was about 4 years ago, during that process, we had other friends say, hey, you know what, you can't not live in a place where you serve. So we ended up moving to Mars Hill, and we love it. And I was never in a million years would be telling you that I would be living in a house in Mars Hill with an art center. It's one of those things where it's one of those deals like, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, because it's going to change if you stick around long enough, if you're obedient. But I don't want to put my wife on the spot, but she's right here in the front row. But we are a pretty decent team, it's just one of those deals where when you get enlightened, you need to realize it, and then you need to do something. But I want to leave you with a bad dad joke, because that truly is one of my gifts. I'm not just the ass, okay? All right. Which apartment did Shakespeare's girlfriend live in? It was either 2B or not 2B. Thank you.
Man.
When I'm at your age, I want your energy. Seriously.
I had ADHD. A lot of people had to pay for this energy.
So I hear that you guys selling something outside. You want to tell a little bit about that?
Yes, yeah. We have the Mars Hill Art Center t-shirts that my lovely wife Lisa will be selling out there, and our proceeds go to support our cause in Mars Hill. And if you ever want to come out and see the Mars Hill, generally I'm a ceramics, I do pottery, so I'm a ceramics teacher. And we have several activities, painting, all that, and we even have Taekwondo. So.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next speaker, she is a spiritual and energy healer. If I can tell you about her in one word, that she is a powerhouse, okay? Our previous MC, she was a great speaker and a great singer. And so what she did, she sang a song for each speaker. Well, if I could sing, well, I can sing in Bollywood maybe. I don't think you want to hear that. But if I could sing, I would sing for her, "This girl is on fire." Maria Celeste.
Good evening. Thank you. How did I, Maria Celeste Provenzano Cook, get here this evening? I was at my first event in February. I was in the audience with my beloved friend Lisa, who's here tonight. Thank you, Lisa. When Steve Ross, the co-founder, came out and said, the next series will be on enlightenment, Lisa, without a nanosecond of delay, leaned over to me and said, Maria Celeste, you need to be here. When the universe gives you signs and symbols along your way of enlightenment, it behooves you to pay attention to them because it will open up a world for you, and that world is yours. So I sat straight up in my chair and I said yes to the sliver of the moon. Enlightenment. Who enlightens the enlightened ones? N, to be in the state or condition of the stem. Enrich, encourage, enjoy, and light. Light, an illuminating factor, the opposite of dark. Enlighten, to increase the light. Meant, the state or condition as a result of an action. Enlightenment. Enlightenment, spiritual understanding, knowledge, and wisdom. According to the Buddhist tradition, enlightenment is an awareness that frees you from the state of rebirth. How beautiful is that? An awareness, a consciousness, a thought. Everything is created first in thought, and it behooves you also to be the sage of your thoughts, because everything comes from thought. The chair you're sitting on, this beautiful building that we're in, the clothes that you are wearing, and everything between here and the 8 great wonders of the world were first conceived in thought. And you are of that same thought. Infinite source, divine creator, God, is behind that source. And if you take a drop of ocean out of the ocean, what do you have? You still have the ocean. When the Creator creates its creation, the Creator is in the creation, and the creation is of the Creator. There is no separation. The only difference is not quality, but an understanding of that degree of oneness. And you are that oneness. Mystery, manifestation, and enlightenment all come from that same source. And you, and you, and you, and you are all of that source. And don't let anyone take that God spark away from you, because you were born that way. When I was a little girl, my mother smoked Camel cigarettes, non-filtered. And on the back of the Camel cigarettes, there were 3 pyramids and 3 men riding camels that I used to say, the wise men, and 3 words, fine Turkish blend. And I would say over and over again to my mother, Mom, talk to me of Turkey, talk to me of Turkey. But we really have to write this company because these pyramids are not in Turkey, they're in Egypt. And she would say, Mon Dieu, how do you solve a problem like Maria? If you ask my beloved husband who is here tonight, I love you, Eric, God bless you. He will tell you, you don't. Fast forward 30 years in my life, and you'll find me on pilgrimages to the southern part of Lourdes, the southern part of France to Lourdes, where the Blessed Mother appeared to Bernadette. And on this particular trip, my roommate, who was also a third order Dominican like I at the time, she said to me, Maria, Father Allen, our spiritual advisor in Washington, D.C., he's doing a pilgrimage, the footsteps of St. Paul through Turkey and Greece. And I want to go, but I want you to be my roommate, so you have to go. No pressure, right? I said, Maureen, I really don't know where I'm going to be in 6 months. She said, I really want you to think about it. 3 days after I returned back to America, my church calls me. Signs and symbols. Maria, we want you to be a Bible study leader. And the book that we're doing is the book of St. Paul. I called up Father Allen the next day and I said, Father, I'm not saying I'm going, but the universe is certainly enlightening my way because they want me to teach the book of St. Paul. He said, Maria, I really want you on that trip. I said, I'll think about it, Father. 6 months later, I'm on a bus taking me from the Istanbul airport along the beautiful Bosporus to my hotel in Istanbul. The little girl in me was lit up like a Christmas tree. I was in the land at the back of the Camel cigarettes. The female senior financial analyst in me, who had once worked in graduate school for the Massachusetts Port Authority, was mesmerized by what I saw on the Bosporus. I knew there were signs and symbols out there for me to come back to America as an investment opportunity for my clients. Because you see, what I did as an investment advisor, I not only managed my clients' money, I truly felt I was responsible for giving them financial freedom so that they could live their lives through their dreams and have their path of enlightenment. And I took that very seriously. So what I was seeing were signs and symbols on the Bosporus. There was 3.5 to 5 days of backlog waiting to get into that port. The cargo, the freight, the tankers, and the barges told me that was an investment opportunity. When I got to America, I need to figure it out. And as we got deeper and deeper into a very rural country, there were more signs and symbols along the way. There was bridges, roads, highways, and even dams, electricity, being built in the rural aspects of this country. And I knew, being the sage of my thoughts, that I was being affirmed that there was an investment opportunity there. So when I got back to America, it was made very easy for me, for the company that I worked for, thank you, Morgan Stanley, had the Morgan Stanley Turkish Fund. Not only was I enlightened by what I saw, but I knew that the people in New York that I trusted to take care of my clients also knew that there was an enlightened opportunity there. But I also found that not only did I want to invest in that country, I wanted to go live in that country. Every aspect of my being pulled me halfway around the world to go live in the back of the Camel cigarette package. In the words of my mother, I was batshit crazy for wanting to get, God rest her soul, I love you, Mom, to go halfway around the world to live in a God-forsaken country. You see, at the time, I was one of the most successful female financial brokers in the state of Indiana. I was living the American dream, and I was being asked to forsake it to go halfway around the world. I had a tremendous social life. I had a very personal and pristine private life, and I had a spiritual life that was magnificent. And so, being the sage of my thoughts, I knew I needed to understand that I was doing the right thing. From the time I was a little girl and could pray, to this morning and hopefully to tomorrow, I always pray, into thy hands, O Lord, I commend my spirit. Thy will be done in my life. So I put myself on a 3-day silent retreat in southern Indiana. And on the last day of that retreat, the bulletin board that they always had present for us, the words read, 2/3 of the word of God is go. You betcha I cried. But if you flip the word God backwards, 2/3 of the word of God is do. Divine order, dynamic obedience. I obeyed and I went. But before I went, my church, St. Alphonsus Catholic Church at the time in Zionsville, gave me a lovely going away party. And at the party, one of the parishioners, this tiny little woman, came up in my face, all angry and frustrated. And she said, "You can't do this." And I gently put my hands on her shoulders to calm her down. And I said, "Yes, I can. I leave Tuesday." You see, when the universe asks you to shine your light bright, if you read all the books and the sages of the world, they will tell you it's our responsibility to shine our light bright. And when you shine your light bright, you're telling other people they're responsible for shining their light bright. And some people don't want that responsibility. I don't want to know what you do for a living, what kind of car you drive, what kind of house you live in, how much money you have in the bank. I want to know if at the end of a day, being sick and weary to the bone, that you can get up in the morning and do what it takes to feed the children. I want to know if you will stand in life's fire with me, raw and vulnerable, with your pain or with mine, and say yes to the sliver of that moon. I want to know if you can forsake everything and everyone without ever forsaking yourselves. So I ask you all this evening to do yourselves an amazing honor. Before you go to bed tonight, go home and stand in front of that mirror naked, raw, and vulnerable, and look at that God spark in your souls and ask yourselves, who enlightens the enlightened one? Thank you. Good night. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So, I was researching a little bit about you, and there's a website I think you have.
Yes.
Why don't you tell audience a little bit about that?
Well, there's a lot on the website, but the website is www.Center for Creative Healing. I think it's in the brochure, so if you want to know more about me, you can look it up on the website.
And also, I found out that she's a great dancer. And I want to see some moves. Hold on, we got some music coming in. Hold on.
Oh, wait, no. Oh, dear.
All right.
Good night.
Our next speaker, she's a natural storyteller. I just loved the way she talks. She's gonna wake you up, let me tell you that. She's a mother of 2, and she loves to drive Harley. Please help me welcome Stephanie Bowie.
Hello. I realize that I am all that stands between you and your bed. So, I get it. My bedtime passed a few minutes ago too, but let me just tell you, right? Your dynamic radiance is attractive to those who desire the truth. I said your dynamic radiance is attractive to those who desire the truth. It was 1999, 20 years ago, and I could not have known it at that time, but those words would gently push me onto my personal path of enlightenment. I just showed up for my first day of work at Promotus Advertising Agency, and a good friend, Dominique Bryant, welcomed me into the office that day. She took me around, introduced me to everyone, and then showed me to my desk. As I got settled in, I noticed the screensaver on the computer in front of me. Rolling across the middle of the screen were these big, beautifully scripted words. Your dynamic radiance is attractive to those who desire the truth. I sat for several minutes just watching it go by. I was mesmerized by those words. At that time, I was struggling with some physical attraction and attracting the wrong people, the wrong circumstances, the wrong place, the wrong time. And so knowing that my dynamic radiance was attractive to those who desire the truth, it moved me deeply. About a week after that, I asked Dominique, do you attend church? And she said, no. I do not attend church, but I do attend fellowship, and you're welcome to join me at any time. I had no clue what fellowship was, so I asked a natural question, what's the dress code? Because, as you heard a little earlier, Sunday best was not what I was prepared for at that time. My wardrobe, among other things, was inadequate. She replied, clean, and clean is a standard that I could absolutely meet. So, I began attending fellowship with her week after week, and I sat in a living room and heard the Bible explained to me with such power and confidence like I had never heard before. Things about how the law of believing and how all things are possible to us who believe. How God's desires that we prosper and be in health even as our souls prosper. Hey, raining down. Right? How Jesus came that we might have life and have it more abundantly, and yet nothing at my life in that time was abundant. My finances were woefully inadequate. I was parenting a 1-year-old son at that time from a position of fear. My own standard of myself as a mother, after watching my mother, I didn't measure up. And I was careening my way down the path toward what would be my second divorce at that time. No, abundance, prosperous, free, those were not words that I would use to characterize my life at that time, and so I crawled on the path. My journey toward enlightenment has bloody knees and scarred hands, lots of tears. About 6 years later, I would meet another spiritual helper on the path through Samuel L. Jackson. And no, I did not meet Samuel L. Jackson. But I did watch his movie, Coach Carter. And in the movie Coach Carter, Samuel L. plays a high school basketball coach, and he's helping young men on and off the court. He keeps asking this one question over and over again: what is your deepest fear? And this is a high school kid. He's like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. Deepest fear. Until a pivotal moment toward the end of the movie where the young man stands and says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. And again, I was really moved deeply. That was profound. He went on. It was eloquent. And I had to know where these words had come from. So I went to the guru of all enlightenment, Google. You want to know anything, you just do a Google search. I typed in our deepest fear, and quickly the name Marianne Williamson popped up. Hey, we have some fans in the house. I learned she not only wrote the timeless classic, A Return to Love, where that quote came from, but she was a practitioner and a teacher of A Course in Miracles, a book that had sat gathering dust on my bookshelf for years. I bought it from Half Price Books because I loved the title, but I had never opened it. I went quickly. I grabbed that thing and I dusted it off, opened it up, and started to read. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. I read about how our egos make us feel disconnected from God and from one another. I read about how miracles occur naturally in the presence of love, and they are our inheritance. It was really metaphysical for me, though, at that time. I wasn't quite grasping what it had to say. It was just deeper than what my intellect was ready to comprehend. And so I put it back on the shelf where I got it from. Just put it down, and I continued that slow crawl on that path. I mean, it was a painstaking crawl. The crawl had a lot of crying and a lot of cussing. That's how my path of enlightenment went. Don't get me wrong, there were moments of joy, accomplishment, laughter, but always waiting for me was that nagging sense of insufficiency, lack. You're not enough. Who do you think you are? You're inadequate. As a human, as a person, as a mother, as a daughter, as a wife, you are not enough. It will be several more years, 12 more to be exact, 2017. I said, okay, God, I get it. I see that my external world is just a reflection of my internal world. What I'm experiencing outside of me is a direct mirror of what's happening inside of me. And so if I want a different experience in this life, I have to be different, know different, do different. And so I want something different. I want new neural pathways associated in my brain, new connections. I scrolled through Facebook one day and I saw a flyer for Walk the Talk. And it said, creating an epic shift. And an epic shift was what I had just dialed into the universe. Yeah. epic shift. That is what I needed at the time. So I showed up for my first walk the talk. The topic was positive thinking. I was open. I was open to the experience, the crowd. I sat out there and I was ready to receive. I met yet another spiritual helper by the name of Neil Felora. Neil took that stage that night, and he changed the energy in the room. He captivated us, and he asked us to do an exercise, which I'm going to repeat with you here tonight, if you would be so kind. He asked us to stand, so please stand with me. He asked us to close our eyes. Repeat after me. I am amazing.
I am amazing.
I am whole.
I am whole.
I am limitless.
I am limitless.
Now you may open your eyes and take a seat, or take a seat and then open your eyes. However your faith is set up. Amazing, whole, limitless. I internalized that and kept repeating it to myself. That night, that week, the whole next month, I wrote it on my mural. I journaled about it. I reached out to Neil. I said, you have really created that epic shift for me. Thank you. I had been having an intellectual experience, not a spiritual experience. I had been trying to understand believing, but not being a believer. I've been pondering abundance and prosperity, but not knowing that I am abundant and prosperous. Just as I stand, if I don't get one more degree, open one more business, write one more chapter of one more book, I am enough. So tonight, I want to challenge you. I encourage you. I beg and plead and implore of you. Don't leave this room without knowing a few things. Sorry to shower you. But you got to know this. It's that important. Know that you are filled with a power. It resides deep within you as potential, waiting to be activated. Know that you are fully and thoroughly equipped for the work that God has called you here to do. You lack nothing. You are sufficient. You are adequate. You are ready for the position that you've been called to. Know also that you and I, we are one. We work as one body. I may be the foot, you may be the ear, you may be the arm. But together, our job is to reconcile other people back to love, back to the sufficiency, back to the fullness that is their inheritance. Know that as you crawl on your path of enlightenment, there are those of us on that path who see you. We will help you. We know you because we know ourselves. And we can connect with you and just help that journey just a little bit. You may know them. It may be family, my mother, father, best friend. It may be people here, Neil. You may not even know a name. It may be a bus driver, a barista at Starbucks. But you will connect with people if you're open to that connection. Know for sure that you are amazing. You are whole. You are limitless. And know that your dynamic radiance is attractive to those who desire the truth. Woo.
Thank you. Before we end the show, can we do that again, what Neil Fuller does? I really love it.
Absolutely. You are amazing. You are whole. You are limitless.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So before we end our show, I want to thank our sponsors, Indie Holistic Hub, Earth Roamer Imports, thank you, and Steel Point Family Chiropractic. I also want to thank my mom and aunt to be here for first time to buy my event today. So thank you so much. And speakers, please take this stage. Stephen Ross.
Let's hear it for these guys. Testing. Let's hear it for these guys. One more time. Take a bow. Woo! Thank you. So, to sum it up with me anyway, tonight I've learned that enlightenment comes in many ways. It's through spirit from above, through other people, like your friends and loved ones or people you don't even know, or from our senses. And I think we're all enlightened, don't you guys? Yes, yes. And this is just part of our path with Walk the Talk. I mean, as I have been doing this for 3 years, and I think everybody that's involved here, the more we do this, the more honest and authentic we come with ourselves and we become to everybody else. So let's keep that up. And you also might wonder why we're here in this venue. Well, this is our new venue, and we've been trying to find the right venue for Walk the Talk, and this is it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. We're going to be here for our next 3 events. The next one is June 26th on the topic of letting go. We've all had to let go of a few things. And we're going to have, once again, 6 stories on how to do that. And then in the fall, we roll into vulnerability. And in December, we have one on the topic of abundance, because we're all abundant in whatever we do. So anyway, and if you're a sponsor and you feel, or if you're interested in sponsoring, you feel that your mission matches our mission, which is to help people be better, to create an epic shift, and that epic shift is to help people think in a more positive way, then please, you can email me, walkthetalkseries@gmail.com. So let me look at my notes here. Oh, okay, so speaking of gratitude, so I want to thank the speakers again. Whoop, whoop. Yeah. Thank you. I want to thank Rosa Parks Elementary for them letting us do our Walk the Talk Junior there. We're going to continue doing that. Thank you. And I think their principal is here somewhere. Anybody see him? Okay. Sorry. Anyway, and if anybody knows a grade school that they think would like to volunteer for our next Walk the Talk Junior, just once again email me, walkthetalkseries@gmail.com. Let's see. The band. Let's hear it for the band. We've called it the Walk the Talk Band, but now I think it's Rebecca Meldrum and the Melody Makers. Is that right? Is that right, Rebecca? Yeah, okay. Special thanks to this young lady that's sitting right down there. Yeah, anyway. And let's see. And the last part is, you guys, if this is your first time, you are now part of the Walk the Talk tribe. So use that hashtag Walk the Talk tribe when you take pictures or send anybody information about this, because you guys are now part of the tribe members. And, you know, our tribe is growing. Once again, we're going to celebrate 3 years, and our 19th event's coming up in June. So thank you so much for your support. It's always gives me goosebumps every time we do these events and I hear all these beautiful speakers and stories. And you will be able to catch their stories on YouTube, our YouTube channel. We have over 100 videos of the 100 speakers that we've had so far, and these 6 will be there in about 2 weeks. And that's Walk the Talk Speaker Series on YouTube. And so that way you can watch them, share them, and it's a lot of fun. So, okay, so you guys have probably seen the balloon drop. And if you know what's in there, it's our motivational balloon drop. And inside of each balloon is a motivational phrase based on tonight's topic. So you can pop it or take it with you like a fortune cookie and open it later. So are you guys ready? Oh, wait a minute. We're going to take a picture. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Rocket. Thank you.